This is the presentation I put up in Leeds at the Digital Marketing Meetup event. For those of you that were there, thank you so much for being there. For those of you that weren't, this presentation might be interesting to you. It goes through some of the new data that we have in SISTRIX relating to LLM data. We have some AIO data in here as well. And I think this is going to last about 20 minutes. I'm going to do it in one take. And I hope it's useful for you. Right, let's do a quick recap. There's no surprises here. Only a few months ago, Google had control of the search, right? There was only one player in the market, one set of data. It was pretty simple. It's now evolving. You've probably heard this before, that it's evolving to entity mentions, quotes, and whether the brand is even in the conversation. So moving away from this idea of links. People, products, brands, and places, entities. So basically that sort of knowledge graph, entity information is the sort of thing that is evolving and we're looking at with SISTRIX. So let's have a look at the study data. We took quite a bit of data. We took three chatbots, OpenAI, ChatGPT, and Google Gemini, 5 languages, and we asked 10 million questions, giving us about 150 million responses. So probably one of the biggest AI LLM output analysis there are in the market right now. And let's have a look to see what we found. We've got some insights for you, and I hope this is going to be useful for you to think about how the LLMs can be used for data, for positioning, for brand information, and the realities of that as well. The reality number one is that chatbots don't take a lot of percentage of search right now. Data in the industry ranges from 1% to 3% in terms of total search, but we need to pay attention to the rate of increase of that, so that's important. Here's the data from SISTRIX. So point number one. Sources are rarely mentioned. So the number of links that we're seeing within the LLM responses are low. Google Gemini has the highest number of linked sources within it. ChatGPT the lowest. That's 6.3%. That means that 93% of the answers don't have links in. So that's a very clear bit of data for you to bear in mind when we're looking at LLMs. When a brand is mentioned, and that might be linked or not linked, there's usually about 10 brands there. So that means you're not going to be mentioned on your own. Let's have a look at that. The average number of brands per answer, and it's quite interesting because it rises to about this, 10 brands per answer figure. There's about 10 of them there. So, thinking about the organic search, 10 blue links, it's interesting that it's that number. 8.9 in DeepSync and down to 4.9 in ChatGPT. So that means if you're mentioned, you're going to be mentioned with other brands. It's very important. There's significant differences in the sources chosen by LLMs. We must not forget that the LLMs use different algorithms, of course. Have a look at these sources. I'll give you a quick summary. On the left there is, I think that's Gemini. I have to double check. There's Gemini on the left, ChatGPT in the middle, and on the right there is he loses his way. DeepSeek. Yeah. Okay. So on the left there, we've got support.apple.com, support.google.com, support.microsoft.com, gov.uk. So very sort of reference and support type sites. In the middle there's a bunch of health stuff in there as well. So we've got Mayo Clinic, some commercial information providers. And then on the right with DeepSeek, I don't really know what's going on because we've got Student Aid, Pixabay, LibriVox being mentioned a lot in terms of sources. This data you're seeing right now is from our beta AI LLM study tool, which will be coming out of beta very soon. If you're on the queue, I'll give you a QR code at the end to get on the queue. If you're on the queue, wait. We're opening the gate slowly because we want to make sure that everything is correct before we take it out of beta. So basically, ChatGPT referring to the support pages, as I mentioned, Gemini using that government and health sources, and DeepSeek. Well, okay, let's move on from DeepSeek. Gemini has the largest number of linked sources. So remember, 10 million questions going into each of these LLMs. Only 500,000 hosts linked in answers in Google Gemini. DeepSeek with only 180,000 and ChatGPT with 195,000 there. That's actually quite low. That relates back to the first slide, which said that, or the first point, which highlighted the fact that there aren't many linked sources. We've got this Reddit paradox as well. Close cooperation, obviously, between Reddit and Google. However, despite Reddit having such a huge presence in organic search, they're not being linked within LLMs. So the strategy of placing your brand on Reddit is one that you need to be taking care of. There are things you can do on Reddit, of course, but using it to get your brand into LLMs may not be one of them. I'm sorry, I don't have the exact numbers. The numbers are low for Reddit. In fact, I think Google Gemini was one of the lowest of the three for linking Reddit. Right, brands mentions versus source linking. So as the data earlier showed, brands are being mentioned without being linked. So there's more brands being mentioned than linked sources. So this is a second bit of data that says the current practice of linking sources is over. This is not new news, but this is data that backs that up. Brand mentions are also not the rule. Brands only appearing in up to 38.5% of the answers. So there's a lot of answers there without any brands in. So no brands, no links. Bear in mind there's a lot of Gemini, DeepSeek, and ChatGPT answers that don't have links or brands in. Right. Brands are also almost never alone. This also relates back to another bit of data that we had earlier. If you're going to be mentioned, you're going to be mentioned with other brands. 0.1% of DeepSeek answers only have one exclusive mention of a brand in there. So don't expect to have ownership of LLM when you're in the answers. You're going to be mentioned with other brands. Right, I want to give you some examples of our chatbot. This is a bit of an exclusive, and actually I've added some more data from Leeds last week because some new stuff has launched. As I said, the QR code is coming up. Get on the beta test for this. We're opening the gates. It looks like this. Basically, we're going to give you entity management data. So we're going to show you we're going to use the visibility index, the trusted KPI that you know from organic search, and we're going to use it and apply it to the LLM outputs. We're going to show you the competitor environment as well. This is quite interesting. So for each entity, there's going to be a list of related entities. So here's the example for Leeds, showing the top entities that appear around Leeds. So this is going to be useful for brand management. We'll also show you we'll have run the top list as well. So the top sources, here's the top sources you can see. Right, the other thing I want to highlight, and we just mentioned this briefly in Leeds last week because the data was just starting to appear. The devs who are below me right now are working on. So this is live in our data in our tool right now. So if you're a SISTRIX user or a trial user, you'll get this data already. It's rolling out quickly. The UK seems to be one of the strongest countries for AIO rollout, although the speed of rollout in other countries over the last month has been incredible, showing that Google has a lot of confidence. Here's the AIO overview total percentage for the UK. That's 23.8% of the 1 million SERPs that we check daily. 1 million is the part of our huge database that we use for checking the visibility index. It's a very wide, short head to long tail representative database. So this is an important figure. 23.8% rising. It's flattened off actually over the last couple of days. So that's an extremely high figure of AIOs. And we know that this is going to impact CTR within the organic SERP. So it's important to keep track of this. The data now. This is interesting. Actually, this is not in the toolbox. This is something I've pulled out of data that we had from November. That is the occurrences of an AIO box in rankings for domains. You might have heard that informational SERPs are getting more AIO overviews than commercial. That is absolutely true. Take a look at Cleveland Clinic up there in November. That is September, September last year, 24.13% of their rankings had an AIO in the SERP. Doesn't mean they were in the SERP, but it does mean that they were, I don't know why that's zoomed in, that they were competing with 24% of the SERPs having AIO. That is now up to 64.78 for Cleveland Clinic. That is a huge change and must have impacted their CTR quite considerably. Interestingly, down the bottom, we've got a couple of pure e-commerce. Go Outdoors, for example. Last September, they only had 0.58% of SERPs having an AI. That's risen by nearly 5x to 3.3%. So the rate of increase of AIOs in even commercial stuff now is high. The actual absolute percentage rates are still quite low, and it's the informational websites that will have to compete the most with AIO. Right, what's happening in AIO? So new in SISTRIX last week are the AI overviews rankings. So you take your domain, down on the left-hand side there you can see the little red arrow. AI overviews is where you're going to find where a domain ranks within the AIO box, the position, and obviously that's going to be something we monitor with the visibility index. So it's going to be very regularly updated daily for most of the keywords, and that's a very important informational source for you now. Also, let me just go forward. You'll see in the actual SERP layout, if you go to the mobile index, you can see the SERP archive. You will actually see the AI overviews in the top. So this now allows you to work out what's going on in the SERP and to see if you're in the AI overview and in the organics, and whether there's other stuff in the SERPs as well. So two important data sets now in SISTRIX. Good. Well, that brings me very close to the end. I promised you a link to which you can use this link to get to SISTRIX. We've actually opened up a 14-day trial, no credit card access for you, so that you can get into the data. If you sign up for the trial, a 14-day trial, Leo, my mate in sales, is going to be able to help you get on the list for the beta for the AI traffic. So sign up using that QR code. Send a message to support, or Leo will get someone to call you and get you on the AI data trial. There's a big queue right now. The sooner you get on it, the better. And I hope that really helps you. That is the the presentation from Leeds. One take here. I wanted to make sure this went online because a lot of people were asking for the slide set. Thank you for turning up in Leeds. Next will be in Brighton in October 2025. I hope to see you there. We're going to be having some events going on there. So if you have a look at Digital Marketing Meetup, SISTRIX, you might see a Brighton landing page. You can sign up for interest in our events, and I'll ping you. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more data.